Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome into the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. Is that, I'm not sure whose voice that is, but that's a really good radio voice, whoever that was that introduced us. We're going to talk some high school. I think we're pretty much all high school football tonight because we are in the area round of the playoffs for UIL teams, regional round for TAPS teams, and that means there's still plenty of talk about it, including if you're watching on TV. These guys to my left have a game on Friday night at San Angelo Stadium. Estacado is in the 4A Division II area round against a pretty good team. Brock, what is Brock, the Eagles?
Yes.
Brock Eagles, ranked, I believe, the last time I saw him, Dave Campbell ranked number 3 in the state. Rematch from this round last year. That's Eric Ward to my far left, if you're watching on TV, and it's Cedric Ross in the middle. I always have to stop and think. I don't want to call him Bobby because I've got a younger brother, and he didn't like being called by my name. I've asked you this before. Your son's all starting to get called the wrong names yet, or are you still young enough where you're not calling them the wrong names?
Every day I call them the wrong name.
There you go.
We have so many. They know who I'm talking to by eye contact.
You know what George Foreman did, don't you?
Named them all the same name?
All George.
Yeah.
So all he had to do was holler George, and somebody knew they were coming.
Somebody was coming. So, yes, sir.
Cedric, you don't get called Bobby very much, do you?
Yeah, I still do.
You still do?
Yeah.
You two look like each other in the face. You're not built the same. Bobby's he's a man-child. You got what do we decide? You got the speed, a little bit more speed, and he got more size.
Yeah.
He still got some speed though.
Yeah.
Bobby still. We got to maybe get Cedric on some of that. If you ever move to Louisiana, you'll gain some weight. Get you on some red beans and rice. And that'll put you some weight on there. So don't need to worry about it right now, though. You want him nice and lean and fast because you're going to need him.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little bit about who you play. Let's talk about how you got there first. I'm going to run through the scores last week while we've got them up here. Matadors advanced by beating Fort Stockton 31-17. We'll go back to Thursday night. Lubbock Cooper went down to El Paso. One of the best high school football playoff games I've ever covered. Beat El Paso, my brain is escaping you, Del Valle 45-42. Just a back and forth great game down in El Paso. Let's see, also in El Paso on Friday night, friendship season ended with a 45-30 loss to El Paso Eastwood. Monterey won. They beat El Paso Americas 50-32, another really good game. Plainsman came alive in the second half. Do you know Deuce Moore at all, Cedric?
Yes, sir.
That young man ran angry in the second half. He ran good in the first half, but he ran angry in the second half because he lost a fumble. He came out in the second half, and I think coach and him had a little talk at halftime, and the whole team was much different. I mentioned Estacado. Liberty beat Monahans 49-0. That was part of the doubleheader that you guys played in. Kingdom Prep season ended with a 66-20 loss to Waco Valor Prep. And on Saturday, Christ the King moved on in TAP's six-man Division III with a 60-24 win against Annapolis Christian out of Corpus Christi. So we got 4 UIL teams left. Lubbock Christian had a first-round bye. They're alive this week, so we got a lot of football to talk about. Let's focus on the Matadors game against Fort Stockton. You guys had to work with that one a little bit. It sounds like Fort Stockton came out and played well. Special teams. I mentioned this in a little story I wrote. The special teams were pretty special. That first word was pretty big. This young man here, had you ever returned 2 kickoffs in a game?
No. That was the first timer.
And the timing of them was big too. So Eric, take it away. What was Fort Stockton doing early to kind of get up on you guys, and then how big was that first kickoff return?
Well, they capitalized on our lack of communication coming out the gate, and I think offense it kind of took a little bit to get going. Also, playing off a bye week is kind of hard.
Yep.
There's a phenomenon called the bye week blues, and I think we kind of fell victim to it for a quarter and a half. And then, when Cedric, they kicked the ball back there on kickoff for our kickoff return team, Cedric returned it. That kind of sparked the momentum for us, and we got rolling after that.
It seemed like it got your defense going a little bit too.
Yes, sir. Defense made, I think, 3 big-time third and fourth down stops that kept us, motivated and the momentum going, and we just capitalized off of that.
I got my man Nick Long to explain it to me, as only Nick Long can.
Uh-huh.
He talked about the bad punt snap. You guys got it, punched it in right away. Mm-hmm. That kind of got you going, and then he did what he does on offense here. Cedric, tell me about your 39-yard touchdown on offense. That's probably pretty boring compared to the kickoff returns.
That was just us putting things together as we know we can and just executing a play.
And then it sounds like they got their offense going a little bit again. Then that's what you were talking about. Some third and fourth down stops. They only scored 3 points after they scored those first 2 touchdowns. So your defense has probably been under fire a little bit at times this year. But I think that's big when your defense can play that well after struggling out of the gate a little bit.
Yes, sir. I totally agree. Credit to the defensive coaching staff. The kids bought into what they were teaching them, and it showed in practice, and they went out there and they executed at a high level.
You guys, takeaways are big in any football game. Who got the 2 interceptions for you?
I'm gonna say D.D. Traylor got one, and I'm trying to remember who was the other one. Ray Don Sanders. Those are 2 big interceptions that kind of sparked momentum again. Offense, we went down there, we drove the ball, which took a lot of time off the clock. And they, credit to Fort Stockton. They were well prepared. They came out the gate firing, pistols firing, and they wanted to win just as bad as we did.
Because that's a rematch from last year too, right?
That is a rematch from last year, yes, sir. So yeah. I can tell you they were ready for us, and we just outlasted them in terms of putting things together.
What I've figured out in doing this a few years is playoff rematches. There's usually, first of all, it's a playoff game. Nobody wants their season to end. Mm-hmm. And if they've seen you before, they're going to come up with something a little bit different than the year before, which we'll talk a little bit about that because now you guys get to flip that script a little bit. What did you like when you stepped back and got that gold ball in y'all's hands? What did you like about what your guys did for those 2.5 hours?
They brought it together and they played for each other. They played as a team. There were some mistakes made, but they didn't let it take light off of what the goal was, and they stuck together and they actually played harder for each other through the mistakes. And so, as a coach, nothing makes you more happy than seeing your kids happy. And so seeing them, host that trophy at the end made my heart just, thrive a little bit. I love seeing the kids happy.
4 years in a row you guys have won by district. I went back and counted. I think it's 9 out of 10 years. So we'll come back and talk more about the Matadors and what lies ahead when we come back after this break in the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. This is the High School Fan Zone, more specifically the Matador Fan Zone on a Monday night. Ran through the scores. Now let's run through what's coming up this week in the playoffs. Let me call it up real quick here. Thursday night, Monterey goes to Abilene and plays Fort Worth Arlington Heights in the 5A Division I area round. That's 7 p.m. at Shotwell Stadium. That's on 93.7 the Eagle. That's Plainsmen I think they're sneaky. They've got a chance. Arlington Heights is 10-1. You don't win 10 games by accident, but Monterey has got every tool they need to get a win there. They just got to put it together like they did in the second half, especially the other night. Friday afternoon, a lot of games going on. Friday afternoon in Abilene, Lubbock Christian, as I mentioned, they had a first-round bye. They are ranked number 3 in the state in TAPS Division III, and because of kind of some weird stuff that happened, they are taking on the number 2 ranked team in the state, San Antonio Holy Cross. That's at 4 p.m. at Wilford Moore Stadium, which is McMurray University in Abilene. At 3 p.m., I should have gone with them first. At 3 p.m., Lubbock Cooper in 5A Division II plays Prosper Walnut Grove, which is ranked number 6. That is at 3 p.m. at Anthony Field, which is ACU in Abilene. And then at 6 p.m., Liberty faces Graham. Let's see, Lubbock Cooper will be right here on 100.7 The Score. Liberty faces Graham at 6 p.m. at Shotwell Stadium in a 4A Division II area round game. That's on 93.1 Young Country. And then down the road from Abilene a little bit at St. Angelo Stadium, the Matadors are in action against Brock at 7 p.m. That's down the radio dial, but my guy Nick Long will have that call for you. If you've never listened to Nick Long and Mark Finkner on Saturday morning break down the high school stuff, you need to. There's a ton of energy between those two. They will fill you in, and you better buckle up because they will go fast and they will get you a lot of information. Also, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Friday, Christ the King faces Azle Christian at Greyhound Field in Knox City. Like I said, we got 4 UIL teams, 2 TAPS teams. We were talking before the break. Estacado, 4 years in a row that you've gotten past the by-district round. I think it's 9 out of 10 years, and I believe this is the 17th year in a row Estacado's made the playoffs. So you get hired, Eric. Boy, did they tell you right away? Okay, you get this 10 games, and we expect you to go ahead and go to the playoffs, or did you just kind of figure that?
I actually played against Estacado when I was high school.
Did you?
I know about the tradition and culture, and so what's understood don't need to be explained, and so I already knew.
And that's you go back. Lewis Kelly. I mean, that's the standard. You guys know that from walking in your locker room every day.
Sir.
You see that picture of him, and he kind of still hovers there. Mm-hmm. He's Tony Wagner's the new age Lewis Kelly. Mm-hmm. But it's been a bunch of different coaches since then. So it's good coaching, it's great players, but it's also that expectation, that aura that Estacado, you're gonna do well and you're gonna get to the playoffs. Now you got a challenge ahead. We talked about your rematch. Fort Stockton got your rematch. You get the rematch against Brock this week. Brock has not gotten any worse than last year. They're a strong program. They're one of those programs that's kind of growing. They probably aren't going to be in 4A for very long. Mm-hmm. What did you learn about your guys last year in that game? And then we'll talk about what you need to take into this one.
I learned that my guys are going to finish. Credit to Brock and what they've built over there, but the focus is on getting our guys ready. And so a lesson I can take from last year to this year is just making sure our boys understand that they do have a chance. And so part of that chance is by playing clean football. Brock is a well-rounded team, and they'll capitalize on the mistakes that you'll have self-inflicted on. So you don't want to have self-inflicted mistakes against teams that are disciplined. And, you don't want to have mistakes at all, but, that's the nature of the game. And so to give ourselves the momentum we need, we got to go out there and play sound football.
And what you said about finishing, if I remember right, I think Bobby broke off a long run towards the end of that game. He finished his career he put an exclamation. It was a tough loss, but he put that exclamation point on it. That's Big Brother. How proud were you of him to see him finish the way he did?
I'll say real proud because it just showed, our determination, not even just family, but just Estacado-wise, no matter the score or the chaos of the game, just continue to keep going.
All right. We'll talk more about Brock and the Matadors and what's coming up when we come back after this break in the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in now, I think, at Matador Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. We're with Eric Ward and Cedric Ross. Matadors play at 7 p.m. Friday against number 3 Brock at St. Angelo Stadium. You guys have played there. Have you taken a team there yet, Eric?
No.
I know Cedric's been there because they used to play Lakeview, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of history to it.
Okay.
And you'll get some exercise. There's some hills to navigate. You're going to hear from your coaches up in the booth about the hills probably coming down at halftime because they're going to get their steps in and
pretty steep.
Get some exercise. Yes, so
wow.
You'll be focused in. And you told me this between segments here. You coached against Brock in a playoff game, Wichita Falls Hershey, and you guys beat them.
So we didn't play them in the playoffs.
Oh, not in the playoffs.
We played them in non-district, and we had beat them in actually double overtime.
Okay.
And so it was a really close game. I think, it's about 4 years ago now. But,
you said that it's pretty basic, but what are the keys against them? Because they're coming in 11-0, and I'm just
like you mentioned, obviously, they figured some things out. But as far as our team, we have to play sound football in terms of communicating, being tough up front, being tough on the back end, and being on the same page as everyone else in terms of being physical. We got to play physical across the board. They're a physical team. They're not gonna beat themselves, and you can't give them penalties. You can't give them fumbles. You can't make mistakes. You have to play sound football, and they capitalize off mistakes. So as far as the key to success is just playing sound football, not being yourselves, and capitalizing on the momentum.
So that's a coach talking, Cedric, as one of the leaders on the team. What do you tell your teammates that maybe that they've not been as in the spotlight as much as you have these last couple of years about stepping out there Friday night and being ready to go?
I'll say it's now or never, because now we have to buy games because nothing is guaranteed now. So it's either you want it or you don't. And I'll say pretty much everybody on the team wants it. So you can just see our determination and where we want to get to.
Because it's not a secret. You guys have been really good most of this year. There's been a few times when you've struggled. Now, I told somebody this the other day. The teams you've lost to, I think we talked about this, I don't think any of them have more than one loss.
No.
So you've lost to good teams.
Not one of them.
It's Jim Ned, West Plains, and Liberty, and I think they've got 3 losses total.
Yeah.
Among those 3 teams.
And so you take those programs. So we played similar teams too, Brock.
Yep.
We played 3 different teams that are similar. And so we just got to go back and look at the things that cost us in those games. And as a coach, the belief comes from us. And so us pointing to our kids and showing them where we need to fix things and be better at, and allowing them to go out there and correct it in practice at a high level and going out there and playing.
This sounds simple, but when you've seen that this season, you've also seen them last year at this stage. How much can you use that callback or that recall?
And so, the recall method, I would say, you just got to make sure you're focused on what you need to do as a unit, and in all 3 phases of the game, and not get exposed in any level in terms of getting caught off guard. And so, they're going to play hard, and so are we. We just got to go out there and make sure we're capitalizing on things we do well.
Cedric, you're probably not going to see the ball on a kickoff this week after last week. They're going to look. Their coaches are there for a reason too. They're going to avoid that. What does your impact need to be when you do get the ball in your hands?
What I think every game, determination, go score. Because I feel like I think I win every game scoring. So just same attitude, just go score.
And one thing I've mentioned this to Jason Pearson. I was talking to him about watching you this year. Is there's going to be plays when you're not going to. They're going to get you. They're going to bottle you up, and you haven't let it frustrate you. You just keep chopping wood. That's got to kind of be you guys for your team's mentality this week. It's got to be okay. They stopped us here for 2 yards. Let's go see if we can get 5 yards this time. How important is that, just being persistent and knowing that every play's got to be a little bit better than the last one? How key is that going to be?
I'll say highly key, because football's game like next man. So next play, just next play mentality.
And it doesn't matter if you get to the end zone from a yard out or from 70 yards out. As long as you get there, it counts the same.
Counts the same. So
we were talking. Coach's son is the quarterback. He had his first playoff experience. He had one little hiccup.
Yeah.
And Coach said he stayed away from him. What was your advice to J. Rick after the interception the other day?
Yeah, this is part of the game. He's a freshman, so we all know he's young. So as long as we just rattle around him and know freshman's gonna make freshman mistakes, so we just stay on him and knowing the game's just gonna keep going, he's fine with it.
Just hide him from Dad.
Yeah.
I bet Dad's all right with him. That's going to wrap us up in the Matador Fan Zone. Listen to them Friday night. They try to advance into the regional round. We'll be back after this break in the Panther Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.